that's it. You know, everybody comes and then, oh, am I going to get to realization? Am I going to get to realization in this lifetime? Oh, is it, you know, if it were so easy, everybody would be there.
That's right.
You know, was it easy for Buddha? No. Look what he had to endure, for God's sakes. And people want to think it's like a snap of the thing. You know, it's like somebody at the bottom, you know, saying, well, am I going to climb the Himalayas? Am I going to make it? And you're standing there in summer shorts. You haven't prepared. You haven't even gotten the right equipment. Nothing yet. Absolutely nothing. And want to guarantee that you're going to make it. Unbelievable, you know. So again, all that one can guarantee is if you don't begin, I guarantee you're not going to make it. And no, it can take lifetimes. It didn't happen here in one lifetime. It completed this lifetime, but no, there were many lifetimes that the whole focus was geared towards going forward. But I can guarantee, if you don't begin, you'll never get there. It's that simple. You know, it's like that one famous story, you know, in India, they had the guy, and he said, oh, it's only 100 more. There's as many lifetimes as there are leaves on this tree. There were like 100 leaves left. And he said, that's all? Only 100 more lifetimes and I make it? And he's dancing. And the rest of them, what do you mean? I'm not going to get it this lifetime? Forget it, you know. I mean, come on.
I was totally going to mention that story.
Yeah, that's, you know, I guarantee if you don't begin, you'll never get there. And people want to come and they want, like, I have a crystal ball. I do not have a crystal ball. I am not a psychic.
That's not the right question to ask.
It's not the right question to ask. When am I going to get it? Like this is a college course. You graduate, you know, on this date. You're in delusion until you're not. That's all that one can say. And what can trigger that falling away? Who knows? You know, when one is ripe, but you're never going to get ripe if you don't begin. It's that simple. And it takes dedication. It takes really putting your heart and soul, everything you have into it. It's not like this passing thing. Well, that sounds good. Maybe I'll do that this weekend. Pencil me in for that. I mean, come on, people.
It sounds good.
Yeah, and nobody's willing to give up anything for it. I don't want any hardship. It's supposed to be, you know, light and play and just fun times, the whole thing. Then I'm in for it. You know, like my title in my book, From Hell to Heaven. I mean, you know, a lot of times you got to be willing to walk through hell first, and you got to encounter all of that. You got to encounter the severe suffering of your own, the severe suffering of mankind. You've got to go through, dredge through all of that. You know, and people want to think it's like some kind of a carnival ride or something they're buying a ticket for. Or like an X amount of college credits and you're going to graduate.
They'll gather and collect.
Oh yeah, I want to know I'm going to get it in the next 6 months. If I start now, I should have, in 6 months, I should be realized. Come on.
Right away, you're dishonoring it by doing that. You're dishonoring the
Well,
whole...
exactly. You know, this is, again... You know, this is, it's not like waving a magic wand. There is no magic pill. It really takes dedication. It takes putting in the time. It takes, you know, going through all of that, you know, the same thing. All this phenomena comes up. You know, all the fears come up. All the illusion comes up. And one has to navigate through all of that first.
It's no joke.
It's no joke. There are times on the path where you don't even think you can take the next breath. It's not, oh, how many hours. You're looking for the next minute to be able just to make it to the next minute because it can be that great of suffering. This is not play games. This is not, well, that sounds good. I think I'll buy a ticket to that ride. This is not Disneyland. People have such a mistaken view. A spiritual path is hard. It's like you're going into the monastery, and they have a contemplative monastery where it's just prayers all day and they're on their face and they're doing everything they can to break down ego. It's not a walk in a park. Yes, liberation is fabulous. You're not driven by those desires anymore. The mind is still. The mind is no more. You don't have any more internal chatter. There's none of that. But it just doesn't come, like some of these satsang sellers say, there's nowhere to go. There's nothing to get. You're already there. You're already that. So easy. So easy. It's not easy. They're doing a disservice. They're playing a game. They're playing at the surface is what they're doing. They're playing on the surface. They're playing with oneness. They're playing with love. They're playing with, all these ideas and all of these things. And those are easy constructs to make. Very easy constructs to make. And it's another game, and eventually that game has to fall. Okay? That's the truth of it. And then people have this other idea that in realization, that one's like a robot. No, one is like a robot before realization because you're in your knee-jerk reactionary stuff and the mind spin that comes along with it and the suffering that's in it. And then people, again, have a wrong idea that you can never get angry when it's realization or something. Yes, if a situation calls for it, there can be anger. But it's like a wave. It's come and it's gone. There's no mental drama with it. There's nothing that remains. It's spontaneous. It's momentary, and then that's the end of it. It's like the waves that come, on a still pond. If you throw a rock in, there's waves that happen for a few seconds, but then it very rapidly goes back to that still pond. Okay, one's not like a robot. There is no choice, one is not at that point. It's just in the flow of life. What they call the choiceless choice. It just, it just spontaneously takes place. That's all. It's a lovely thing. I mean, one can be content just sitting there watching the leaves on a tree blow. Listening to the noise of the traffic sounds like ocean waves. One is, at that point, it doesn't take much to amuse and to keep you content, at that type of a thing, because it's just, the richness of what it is for what it is. One doesn't need to have another type of a distraction in place at that point. But people have such a wrong notion that it's going to happen in a couple weeks or within a year.
You haven't even taken a step. And that's the way they feel. Yeah. They feel that way and they haven't even taken a step. But all these projections about it, I'm going to snap my fingers and get it. And, they're going to be special in that way. And they haven't even taken a step. They've had no experience. They haven't challenged themselves. Nothing. But when am I going to get realized?
Yeah, they haven't even taken the first, not even a first step. Not even a first step. If people think it's so easy, Read the life of Buddha. He sat under the tree for how many years? Almost starved to death. He had to face all of those ideas that were wrong. Had to face the fears, had to face, and come to that. People think they're going to get it intellectually. They're going to read the right book, and it's going to happen.
And it will be me that gets enlightened.
And it's me that gets enlightened, and then my life is going to be so special. And there's not. At that point, there is no me that gets enlightened, and that's what people don't understand. They have the confusion because they see a body sitting here speaking. They think that there's somebody that's locked into this ego idea of being some separate entity that is having these experiences, and that deconstructs. Talking happens, that's all. There's not a mind here that's trying to generate what it needs to say next. It just spontaneously comes out. That's all. It's all that can be said. And so again, it's almost impossible to relate what that's like because people have no frame of reference for it. They're in this locked up consciousness that's based on their past experience and their future projections, and they don't know what it is to be in that type of consciousness where the mind is still. There's no yammering, no chattering, no nothing. That's always in that still point no matter what's going on around it. They get caught up in the action of whatever's taking place. Okay? Here it could be, it could be raging anger and there's still center in it, but how to explain that to somebody? That's almost impossible to explain. So, people that come here and they want to know, am I going to get realized in this lifetime? Am I going to be realized in the next 10 hours, in the next, 6 months, in the next year? Now, I can guarantee you if you don't begin, you'll never get there. It may take 1 lifetime. It may take 10. It may take 30. Who knows how much constructs you have that you have to break through. But I can guarantee if you don't begin, you'll never get there. That I can guarantee 100%.
That's all that can be said.
That's all that can be said.
That's the truth of it.
That's the truth. That's the truth of it. And I can guarantee that the path gets hard. That I can guarantee. This fear of death comes and all of this stuff comes, and it's not a joke. It's not a joke at all. It's point blank serious what takes place. A lot of phenomena comes up, a lot of things. I mean, you think you're going to go crazy because so much stuff comes up, or just again, feeling the weight of the world and that pain and agony of humanity to where you can't even take the next breath. This is not a thing of concepts. Oh, I've got a concept and an idea about it. No, I mean, these are the direct experiences of what it is. And there's a vast difference between going through this direct experience of the suffering of humanity and this pain that's there versus an idea about it. And again, it's easy to get to that bliss of oneness and that play of this expansion of love. That's an easy point to get to. To get beyond that is much more difficult, because people get to that bliss state, that state of bliss thing, and they want to stay there. It's like a drug. It's a big stumbling, can be a big stumbling place along the way. It's a great place to be. When you get there, you think you're there. because you hear God is love, and then you know you're off on another projection. But again, that's not the end point. That's just a step along the way, and that's a pretty easy one to get to.
Yeah, I mean, you still haven't even entered the deep waters yet.
No, haven't entered the deep waters yet with that. And that can come early on in the path. That first blush is usually what happens. That first bloom within the first 6 months or something, you'll come to that bliss point and think that you've really progressed and you're there, you know,
Yeah,
and
you
that
haven't
happens.
done the harder work yet. Then the journey really
Yeah.
begins.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother thing, you know.
Exactly.
And it really begins. And all of the phenomena can open up from there, and all that, you know, whatever's been gathered and collected in consciousness for lifetimes, once that box opens, it just, you know, then the real work begins. You
Yes.
walk through.
Kind of like Pandoras Box.
It is.
Once that thing
Absolutely.
opens, then you've got to face what's coming out of it. And that's
Right.
part of the journey.
That's right.
You know, that's part of the journey. So again, you know, for God's sakes, people, don't come here and ask if you're going to get realized in this lifetime and you haven't even taken a first step. Again, it's like climbing the Himalayas and you're standing there in Bermuda shorts, haven't even gotten any mountaineering gear, haven't even crossed, you know, walked 3 miles, and yet you want to know if you're going to be able to climb, you know, to the summit. And I want to know when I'm going to make it there. You know, come on, people. If you want to get to realization off the wheel of karma, then you have to begin, and you have to begin in all seriousness, and you need to do what's needed to get there. You know, again, this is not another diversion. This is not another thing, so many people play the game of spirituality. They're playing a game with it. It's another diversion. They bought another ticket to another ride. We're not talking about that. We're not talking about that. We're talking about where you go and you enter that death before death, where one dies before death and navigates through all the illusion, all the fear, all the drama, and comes out the other side. So, you know, if you're looking to go to Oz and the yellow brick road, that's not the path to realization, okay? So, again, the only thing that can be said is nobody can tell you how many lifetimes are left. I can't tell you if it's going to happen this lifetime or not. I can assure you, though, if you don't begin, it won't. You know? And that when one begins, these things accumulate from lifetime to lifetime. If you have done work in past lifetimes, then you pick up where you left off. That's all that can be said. That's all that can be said. Okay? So that's where that's at, you know. Will I get realization in this lifetime? And, you know, it's supposed to be such an easy thing. No, you want to know how difficult? Look at the life of Buddha. Just a quick example. Had to walk away from being a prince, walked away from the family, walked away from everything he had, and faced all the hardship. That's, okay, hello, it's what it takes. You know? So that's it. That's it. It's a very difficult road. And one has to want it more than they want the nice, comfy, cushy life now. That's it. But if you think I'm going to have my nice, comfy, cushy life and get to realization, think again. It's not going to happen. You can't have both. If Buddha would have stayed there to become a prince, he would have never gotten it. If he would have stayed there with the wife and the children and the family and wanted to continue with all that, he wouldn't have got it. It's that point blank. I don't know how much more I can make it other than that. Okay? So again, I'm here to give you the truth of it, not the, politically correct what sells, what sells. That's easy to give. Promise you everything under the sun, tell you how easy it is, and you'll eat it up and you'll pay a lot of money for it because you're being sold another illusion. I'm not going to do that. I'm not selling tickets to the movie. I'm not selling tickets to the next fantasy. I'm here to tell you the cold, hard truth of what it takes. That's it. Namaste.